Definitely moving here to New York City was one of the best experiences as far as community is concerned. And I think from what I gather, like, this is, of all the times that there have existed to be a queer person, like, this is the best time. I mean, I hope it gets better. There's a hell of a lot of room for improvement. However, it's better now than it ever has been. And I say that personally, just living in like a really gay city and just being here, like seeing and knowing and befriending and dating and interacting with so many queer and gay people from every aspect of the spectrum is just like really, really validating and empowering, and it helps me feel not alone. And also this, talking about this in regard to the big city reminds me of when I was living, I'd spent nearly a decade living in a small town.
May I ask where you're from? The area?
Northern Arizona is where the small town that I spent. That was where I lived through middle school and high school, which I think really stifled a lot of my queer growth. It's like I didn't know I didn't know what the word queer was until I was like 18. And that was really, really weird. Like I had some inklings about things that were different, but like, what? Like, had I known and seen people, like, that would have been a real game changer for me. And so that state of living is still definitely there for people now, like baby queers that are stuck living in bumfuck middle of nowhere. But another aspect of this time we live in that's really good is that we're in this social media age, which is awesome because we can connect with people from literally anywhere. And like, even as big of a community as I have here, I have another aspect of my community that I've so many super, super close queer friends who I've never seen face to face, but I know them so intimately.
Yeah.
It's like this age we live in of like interconnectedness. Like, say all the shit you want about it, but like for me, this has been amazing knowing that there are so many people in all corners of the world that are on the same path as me.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool you brought up New York because this is my hometown. Right, I'm from here, born and raised. So I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I was like 22 and it was like, oh, I'm gay? Is that what you call this? I remember, I think for my 9th birthday, it was either my 5th or my 9th, I don't know how I'm mixing those numbers up, but my aunt, she took me to the Halloween parade for the first time, and we went every single year. This is something very normal to me. New York is very normal to me. When I go to small towns, I'm like, where are the people, right? Yeah. So when it comes into, my queerness and how I relate to community, it's everywhere. When I was a girl, my mom, one of her best friends was a queer woman, and married, for what married could be at that time, right? And these are my aunties, right? Like, I didn't see anything wrong with it, or I didn't know to see anything wrong with it. I have 2 aunts, whatever. My brother-in-law, his sisters are queer. Like, so I've had queerness all around me since a very little girl. But when I got that big, like, surge of wow, right? That this is what it means to be queer, and this is how good it feels, was my first Pride. I can say that. My first New York City Pride, it was something I never felt before. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it. I was like maybe 16. I didn't know that there was a such thing as a Pride parade, and I had a partner at the time, and they were older, so it's like, yeah, we're gonna go to Pride. And I'm like, what's Pride? Like, is that like a thing, an event, a month? I discovered all of this stuff, and I remember getting off the train at Christopher Street, and there were so many people, so many cops, but everyone was so happy. Everyone was yelling and screaming and smiling. And since then, I've made it a very, very, very important event in my life. I go every single year. I've went, to other prides in different cities and different states, because that was my aha gay moment, where, oh, this feels right. These people, these are my family. This is my family. These are my friends. Regardless of who you talk to, where you go, Pride did it for me. And so I would say that's my sense of community, and where it really hit me that I had a community.
such a different interaction my first Pride a few years ago, and that it was just like...
It was New York Pride your first Pride?
Portland.
Oh, Portland Pride.
Portland. Okay. It was just like... The very first thing, it was like, wow, capitalism on full force. Like,
Yes.
Jesus, what the fuck is like a gay airplane ticket? And like, why are you trying to hawk so much fucking alcohol on me? Like, there's more to being queer than getting wasted.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake. And then
There
like,
is? Wait, what?
and then like, gay boys, like
White gay boys.
Yes. Oh my god, especially
Aggressively white gay boys.
especially in Portland. So to me, it was just like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. Like, I have nothing in common with gay boys. I have nothing in common with drinking all the time, and like, I don't want to capitalize on this aspect of my identity. So like, well, whoopie fuck.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I definitely like now. I'm like, hell yeah,
Pride.
Pride, gay is all hell.
Right.
Yeah.
Only time I would rainbow, kind
Totally rainbow.
Yeah, it's a bead somewhere. But even, you know, listening to you as well, thinking about it, I would say community. When I say the word community, I think, you know, the first time I remember having community, and that was honestly church. I went to church all the time as a kid. And one of the people I would talk to the most was my actual pastor. And, you know, that was a space that I can remember spaces where as the adult, she knew something was off. And never at any point did I feel ostracized or isolated or different. Like, I had literally woke up in my 20s and was like, oh, I have a lot of reading to do. Because I was not educating myself on who I was for the longest. You know, and I didn't know that other people really identified this way. I just thought I was different, you know, I've been told this all my life. But those small spaces in my life, I definitely amplified my voice in being who I am, I would say.
I grew up outside of Los Angeles, so I thankfully grew up in a super liberal, artsy, small-ish town. It's hard to be a small town when you're in LA County, but like, I've been a musical theater kid my whole life, so I've been surrounded by the queer community my whole life. And in middle school, actually, two of my best friends who are girls, they started dating, and they dated through sophomore year, actually. And my freshman year of high school, two of my best friends started transitioning. So like, I've been super grateful that in my younger years, I was surrounded by peers that were queer, not just older people that were queer, but like people my age that were queer. And I came out as bi when I was 14. That changed and morphed and whatever, but like, I came out really young. A lot of people that I know came out really young. And I think that was really important to me. I was also a big part of like the YouTube generation of learning a lot about queerness on YouTube, although the parts of queerness I was learning about were the cis gay parts. I've always, when I was younger, I was really infatuated with gay boys. I wanted to be a gay boy. I thought I was a gay boy. My best friend was and is a gay boy. I adore him. He's still a gay boy. But like that's, and like when Glee came out, I was like, I am Chris Colfer. I want to marry Chris Colfer. Like that's me. That's it. And like, I think about it now, I'm like, that's so strange, but like, I also am a drag queen now, so like, I guess we came full circle. But like, but no, like, I was really lucky to have that, and I'm lucky to have that again in New York, but I definitely do feel a stronger community on the internet than I do in the real world, and that might be my own doing. I'm not very good at getting myself out into places. I get really uncomfortable in large groups, and that's how I feel a lot of queer things happen, is a lot of just like a bunch of queer people in the same space, and like that terrifies me. So like, I don't know if it's my own doing that I'm ostracizing myself from my real life community, other than people I go to school with that are queer, but like, I definitely feel a stronger sense of community on my leftist queer Facebook pages, and I only found the queer Facebook community recently, but like already I've made such strong connections with people, and like it's become really important, and like Facebook has never been so important, and I feel so silly saying that, but like I've made a lot of connections with like people I'm probably never going to meet, but like they've already changed a lot of things that I think about, and I think it's super important to have both an online community and a physical community.
Totally. I, millennial age, came in the age of AIM and AOL and Downlink, and honestly, I've met lifetime friends through those spaces. But even in, the real world, the Matrix community, right? My friends were actually very queer, and I was still, claiming these straight spaces, still working through these straight spaces. And, as I said to you guys earlier, I enjoyed these spaces, and, they had bets and fun, but they're like, you're going to be gay one day, you're going to be a lesbian one day. And that was the time where my community, my immediate community, I was completely against. I will never be anyone's lesbian, excuse me. My best friends and I had like full arguments because they categorized themselves as lesbians, and I guess it was assumed that I would just shimmy on in. And that was an interesting space of us growing up. We were all in our early 20s, late teens at the time, and so it's interesting to see your real community. That was my smallest knit community, and even within that community, I didn't fit. Because at the time that I'm speaking of, I was dating cis male, and I had girlfriends or whatever you call it, but I was happy being bi or when I wanted to be, and strict when I wanted to be, and flexible, right?
Sure.
I still call myself a flexitarian because I eat what I want when I want.
Fuck it. Everything's on a goddamn spectrum.
I
think everything is completely
has to be explained, and I don't have time for that, but. And that was definitely a space where I lacked community within my community. There are other ways to be. There are different types of people, and you can love anyone. You really, really can. I identified as poly for a very long time. I still think I do. In orientation wise, I think people are beautiful. Humans are beautiful. We're so different. Like you can put a sister and another sister together, and they come from the same parents, but their features are so different. Yeah. You can spend hours just looking at people. So I think that was a tangent, sorry, but it's so important with identifying who you are by listening to the noise, right? And listening to what's around you. And when you hear that little voice saying, no, like my best friend said I was a lesbian, no, I'm not. That pushed me above and actually made me a leader in my own little close-knit community, So,
yeah. Well, and I think something to touch on, which I touched on either the first or second conversation, is kind of the pitfalls of our community and the divisiveness of it. I always felt like because I was pansexual and non-binary, there's always people who don't think you're gay enough or queer enough or trans enough, and it's really fucking frustrating, especially when I identified as a cis girl and all the only queerness about me was my pansexuality. First of all, everyone at my school assumed I was a lesbian, which I was fine with because I did not want to deal with any of those boys. I was like, that's fine, I'll be a lesbian, chill. I mean, not that the girls wanted me either, but like, specifically. But like,
boys don't want you, you're good.
But like, even like the queer community, then and still, there's still a lot of bi erasure and pan erasure, and people really want to stick to the dominant two sides of gay and lesbian and straight, and you have to be one or the other. And then there's been a lot of ace discourse in a lot of groups that I'm in about whether or not asexual people are part of the queer community or not. And like, I've gotten into so many arguments with people about that. And like, again, like, we're all queer. We gotta be queer together, and we need to stop fighting with each other over who's the gayest and who's the most queer and who's the best trans person, whatever you want it to be. Everyone needs to be queer in their own way, and they need to find their queerness in their own way and express their queerness however they feel is appropriate to themselves and their situation. And we need to stop policing each other, because we're already being policed by the police and white people and cis people and straight people. Like, queer people need to stop labeling other queer people and policing other queer people and telling queer people how to be queer. We need to let everyone live their own real queerness. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I have some disagreement
Go for it.
with that. And let me preface this, like, more so with this than like anything else I've ever said. All this preface works everywhere. And then these are very much like my own personal thoughts, and I don't want anything I say to be taken to be indicative of what anyone else of my similar identities says. Like, this is totally me saying this. But I think, like, policing of identities, like, that's bullshit. Like, that has to go. However, this ties into our concept of representation. And like, when there's, I'll say this like as a femme, I'm speaking this from that experience. And that so often there are women who are monogamous, like cis women who are monogamous with cis men. So by all accounts are like totally straight.
Yeah.
As far as the world sees them. Yet they claim femness. They claim femme, like they are femme. And then that gets into really fucked up misrepresentation. Because it's like, okay, you're femme, I'm not going to police that. However, like, you are not, from how I see it, like, this isn't representing what femme is. Like, femme
the
is...
word has been co-opted to mean something else. People now think it means, people are using femme to mean feminine or mean woman, and that's not what it means.
No.
So I totally agree.
And same goes for queer. So often I see this with largely the generations of sexual minorities above our own, in that they consider queer to be synonymous with gay.
Yeah.
And that's another caveat I'll have is, we have gender minorities, we have sexual minorities, and then we have queer. And queer is a gender minority, is a sexual minority, is neither of them because it is its own independent identity, but it is both of them. And I love queer because of its absence of a strict meaning. Queer is defined by what it is not. That queer is not straight and or not cis, but it's totally open otherwise. And I'll add on to that queer, in my understanding of it, has a very, very political connotations to it. So queer is not only am I gay, using this as a blanket term, not only am I gay, but I'm gay for a reason, and I'm gay with a purpose. And I want to make a point with this gayness. Because I think really, I see so many people who are gay or are in same-sex marriages that are decidedly not queer because they do nothing for our community as a whole. They aren't sticking their necks out for everyone else beside them. They're like, hey, I'm married, I got mine, I'm set. And it's like, that's not queerness.
I agree.
So that, to me, I don't want to police what people do. However, like, I want to be very clear on what these terms mean. And like, are you representing the identity you're meaning to represent? And are you doing it authentically in a way that doesn't misrepresent the rest of us?
I fully agree. I think there are a lot of words that are being co-opted completely incorrectly, and we have every right to say that. Yeah.
I have a very important person in my life is, they identify, I'm using they as a blurring the lines of who this person is. They are definitely monogamous, and they are in a same gender relationship. And they do this because of this very idea of representation. They are attracted to multiple people. However, they realize that as a monogamous person, if they are to get into a relationship with someone of the gender that is not their own, that they sort of lose this representation of their queerness, because it's like, oh, I only get one partner to be seen to the world with. So if I'm presenting as straight, they see it as they're like doing a disservice to queerness. And I think that's a very like strong political stance to make, that like recognizing that they're attracted to a variety of genders, however, for the sake of strong visibility, they're choosing to remain visibly and only in a relationship with someone of the same gender.
I think that's a really strong statement to make, but it also kind of bums me out, because to me, it sounds like if as a pansexual person, if I were to say I'm not allowed to be attracted to people I'm not allowed to date a group of people I'm attracted to, like, to me that's just cutting off a group of people I could possibly fall in love with. Like, I don't know, I mean, I have a partner right now that I'm in love with, but like, we can't decide who we're gonna fall in love with, and it worries me to like purposefully block off a group of people that I will not allow myself to fall in love with. So, like, I totally respect their choice, and I think that's a badass statement to make, but like, for me, like, that scares me, and I feel like, to me, that's taking away part of my queerness, is if I were to do that personally, because again, personal choice, if that's what makes them feel queer,
of course, yeah,
fucking badass, but like, to me, taking away anyone that I'm attracted to, even if it's taking away the fact that I'm attracted to cis men, which I would love to take that away, I really wish I wasn't attracted to cis men. I am sometimes. Some of them are hot. And like, I don't like that about me, but if I were to take it away, that's taking away part of my queerness to me. So like, I think that's a really interesting statement to make, and I really love that. And like, I think that's super nuanced and fascinating, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I will actually agree with you. I wouldn't be able to identify with me with taking pieces away. And I think for it to be a projection of who you are on the inside, right? Who you're walking with. I think you're doing, in doing so, you're policing yourself. And that can come with its own, right? We already have enough baggage going on being, humans. We can stop there, right? There's a bunch of subcategories, but being humans is enough going on that as being a person who identified as pan, poly, and I am in a monogamous relationship by choice at this time. And it is, with a person of same gender. But if it wasn't, I wouldn't feel less queer. I wouldn't feel as if I was taking something away from another queer person. Actually, that would be a space for me to celebrate. I've had friends, we jokingly call it transition, right, through queerness and date opposite sex, date same sex, and, completely become, pushed out of their community. And it is a real thing. I've been the only friend remaining for those people, because I understand you're floating, you're fluid, and it's so important to allow yourself to be. And most of these people that I know that have went through these things, they're very happy by being pushed out of that community that wasn't willing to accept them for who they were. So by any means, I would never want anyone to keep themselves from love, from the potential of love, and I mean love in the largest, extent, it can mean, in the largest explanation. But I commend that person completely. I don't have any willpower.
No, I mean, it's obviously a political statement, and if they're comfortable with that,
of course,
I'm comfortable with that. I just think that's something I've never heard of, and I really love that you brought that up for us to talk about. Seriously, like that. I love that.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And that's something, throwing out one of my own sets of baggage to deal with is, as a femme, I find myself largely attracted to other femmes, just by nature, and then I also am really into the political connotations of that, because that's like, to me, very, very subversive. Where it's so much sameness is going on with that relationship, because so often there's this sort of compulsive performing of heterosexuality in the queer community, where like, a more feminine person dates a
Dates
more
more
masculine person. And I mean, it's still like a queer relationship no matter what. But it's all, I wonder, are we doing this out of compulsion? You know, trying to like not want to be too far gone queer, to like have some recognition to the rest of the world. So I say that, you know, about myself, that sometimes I almost don't allow myself to be attracted to masculine people because I feel like I could be falling into this trap of performing these heteronormative queer relationships.
I had, up until my current partner, I'd only ever been with cis men, and like one of my favorite things about my partner is, I'm AFAB and they're AMAB, but we're both non-binary, gender fluid, so we consider ourselves a gay couple. We're a same gender couple, and like one of my favorite things is that like we're the same size, we share each other's clothes, and like when we walk down the street, people don't know if we're a straight couple, a gay male couple, a couple of lesbians. Like, I love that we are both so fluid and androgynous, however you want to use the word, and like I love that I have someone to confuse with. Like, I finally found a partner to confuse people with, and like I think partnership is an important part of community as well. That's like your personal community, and like I've gained so much from my personal community from my partner, and like that is such an interesting part that we don't talk about a lot, is one-on-one or romantic community. I think is important as well, and it can be really positive or really damaging depending on your partnerships.
Very true. I've learned a lot about myself from my partner that I'm engaged to, and like we've definitely, you know, things that you never talk about. You don't realize you never talk about them until you speak about them. And you know, that's one of, if not the favorite thing about my partner, that we share together, I would say. That through our queerness, you know, we've hit the same kind of milestones, but they were at very different ages. They were in very different demographics, economically, you know, going on, culturally. And we've learned, like, from sharing these spaces, from sharing these stories and the hard things, the good things, the happy moments, that we have a lot of them similar. They're similar. Even though we went through these transitions at a different age, or we went through these transitions with different types of people, it had different outcomes. But you learn so much more from dealing with someone that you don't recognize, you know. And when I say dealing, even a friendship, any kind of relationship, or romantic relationship, you have access to a different story. Of course, in a queer relationship, you have access to a different queer story that you can constantly bounce yours off of and come to an understanding of how you stand politically, how you stand, you know, romantically with the person standing next to you, or people standing next to you. So thank you for saying that. You brought that up for me.